Hey everyone, welcome back to On the Stand with Ashish Arun. Today we have with us Dr. Eric Cole. Dr. Cole is a highly regarded cybersecurity expert with over 30 years of experience in areas such as cybersecurity, networking, and IT. He has held significant roles, including serving as the founder and CEO of Secure Anchor Consulting, a commissioner on cybersecurity for the US government, and a senior fellow at SANS. Dr. Cole's notable career also includes leadership positions at McAfee and Lockheed Martin, among others. His expert witness services have spanned a variety of case types such as apportionment, infringement, trade secrets, and data breaches. Dr. Cole has provided his expertise in cases for both plaintiff and defense, working on intellectual property, cybersecurity breaches, and complex network system disputes. Some of his key accomplishments include being inducted into the Information Security Hall of Fame, authoring several prominent books, for example, The Cyber Crisis, and developing various technical courses and certifications. Additionally, his experience ranges from industry consulting to courtroom testimony, often focusing on cases involving complex cybersecurity concerns, patent disputes, and intellectual property conflicts. So today, let's talk to Dr. Cole, learn about his journey as an expert witness, and the takeaways and the insights that he has to share with us. Dr. Cole, welcome to On the Stand.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's our pleasure to have you here. So let me start from the beginning. And I think I read somewhere, or maybe I heard one of your earlier interviews, where you said that you wanted to be an architect. So from wanting to be an architect to being a cybersecurity expert, that's a big pivot. So, why don't you tell us the story behind that?
No, it's very interesting because I'll sort of date myself a little bit and just to throw out the suspense because it'll help put context to the story. I'm 54 years old. So I was growing up in a time and place where none of this exists. And when I say this, I mean online, cameras, computers, tech. I mean, in the 70s and 80s, no computers, no cell phones, no pager. I mean, you're talking really a different lifetime. I mean, it could be, as far as we're concerned, hundreds of years ago in terms of how much has changed in that time period. So you look back with hindsight and it makes sense. But at that time in the 80s, majoring in computer science was huge risk because this was a fairly new program at most universities. It really was fairly new in a couple of years. Most universities, 83, 84, 85 is when they started having computer science. So it really was a spin-off of electrical engineering. It wasn't at the maturity level it was today. Cybersecurity degrees did not exist. I mean, there was maybe one or two cybersecurity classes that were super basic, but there wasn't a minor, there wasn't a major. I mean, it was completely different time and place. So just sort of want people to appreciate. And I'm always fascinated with how things work, like how things interconnect. And I'd sit there and look at a bridge. I grew up in New York, like the Verrazano Bridge, or you look at buildings in New York City, and just not only fascinated with how they actually worked and stood the elements, the weather, and all that. But once again, these were built before a lot of the heavy machinery that exists today. So it just always fascinates me. And I was thinking of going in to architecture, but then a good family friend said, hey, Eric, everything's moving to computers. Everything's moving to tech. So why don't you focus in on a foundational degree? Because if you know how to use computers, program computers, and work with computers, you can do anything. Architects are going to use computers. Accountants are going to use computers. And it seemed like really good advice of just getting foundational skills on computers, technology, and programming. And then that would allow me to then pivot in various areas. And as you can see, to sort of tell you the punchline of the story, I decided cybersecurity was sort of my calling.
And it turned out pretty well for you. So that was some solid advice that your relative gave you. Going a little off topic, but I remember walking in New York with a friend, and she told me that the way to differentiate between a tourist and a New Yorker is that the tourists are looking up at the building and the New Yorkers are looking down at the street. So yeah, I mean, I can't really blame you for being fascinated with the buildings in New York City and wanting to be an architect. Every time I'm in New York City, that's pretty much what I'm doing, fascinated by the buildings.
And adding to that, because I grew up in New York, I will tell you the other big difference is in New York City, tourists, when they're walking, will stop at red lights, and New Yorkers don't. Like red light, green light, none of that exists. It's basically every person for themselves. And when you step out on the curve, the cars are trying to hit you, and it's like playing that old game Frogger when you were little. So yeah, you can always tell the aggressiveness of tourists versus New Yorkers.
Wow. I'm going to continue act like a tourist and stop
There
at
you
red
go.
lights.
Safety, right? Yeah.
So can you recall a pivotal moment in early in your career or maybe a little later that pushed you towards expert witness work? How did that happen?
So that was one where I sort of always joke when I talk to people about my career. You'd like to believe that it was this well thought out plan that I had. At 10 or 11 years old, I had this master plan that I'm going to go for computer science, go to the CIA, do cybersecurity, do expert. And the reality is maybe some people actually do that, and I'd like to talk to you. I don't know if I envy you because I could see pros and cons, because part of life is letting it unfold. But it really was nothing that I ever planned of. I didn't even know what expert witness was until about probably going on about 18 years now, where I was called because I had some unique expertise in some networking and technology, and I got called. It was a patent infringement case, and they're like, hey, Dr. Cole, would you like to be an expert witness? We're looking for somebody to help out. And my first response to them is, what's an expert witness? Now, as you know, sometimes finding somebody with the right skill set is hard, because at that point, most people would have hung up the phone and said, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. But they explained to me, they're like, you basically have to go in, understand technology that's very, very complex, understand it at such a level that you can explain it to non-technical people. Yeah. And that was when I just started doing teaching. I was just starting to figure out what I really enjoyed in life, what my purpose was. And that really appealed to me, because one thing with me deep down inside, I love helping people. I love explaining. I love teaching. I love taking the complex and making it easy to understand. And one of my mottos that I always live by is, somebody who really understands something can explain it so non-technical people can understand. And that's what I always strive to do with computers, networking, and cybersecurity. So when they said that to me, it sounded really appealing. That, wait a second, I get paid to basically take the complex and make it simple. I get paid to understand things at such a detailed level, but then you have to sort of correlate it up so it can be explained, it can be understood by people that don't have the depth and breadth of knowledge. And that just sounded really appealing to me. So I worked on the case, and as you know, with most experts, it's sort of a little slow getting out of the gate, because as with anything, you want somebody with experience in writing reports. Then after that, you want someone who's experienced with depositions. And then, of course, sort of the golden goose of expert witness experience is somebody that would trust you enough to testify at trial. So it's one of those where when you don't have any of those, not many people want to use you. Then you get the reports down, the depositions down, and then finally I got some testifying experience. And now I just really love helping out clients and helping judges and jurors understand the complex to make it simple.
Mm-hmm. So my closest brush with cybersecurity was watching the series Mr. Robot. I'm not sure if you've seen it. But and Rami Malek's character, you'd see them trying to hack these supercomputers, and it looked like pretty much a cat and mouse game. between different parties working at different interests. And then recently, I had invested in some, last year I had invested in some cryptocurrency, and the exchange got hacked apparently by North Korean hackers. And so that was my second brush with cybersecurity, where some of my money was impacted. So 30 years in cybersecurity, and this is probably one of the most rapidly changing fields. So how do you manage to keep up?
The first thing is it has to be part of your lifestyle. Okay. Cybersecurity, if you want to be really good at it, it's not one of those areas that it could just be your 9-to-5 job. Because like you said, security is not something you can achieve. It's only something you can manage. And what I mean by that is, in any practical sense, 100% security doesn't exist. Right? I always joke with people where I go to clients and they're like, Eric, it doesn't matter. We want 100% security. We'll pay for it. I'm like, easy. Remove all computers, burn all computers, get rid of all technology, get rid of all mainframe servers, everything else. And if you want to be 100% secure, it's really easy. Move to Pennsylvania and become Amish. Gas lamps, right? Horse and buggies, no cars, no automobiles, no tech, no nothing. But the reality is, as soon as you add in functionality, 100% security disappears. Yeah. And I've sort of coined the term, I call it the law of cybersecurity, which has been adapted across the field, which is essentially whenever you add functionality, you decrease security. Whenever you add functionality, you increase risk. So if you have any functional system at any level, it's hackable. It can be attacked and it can be compromised. So the reality of it is you never secure, you just manage. And the way you stay up with it is by just always being a constant teacher. So I'm always volunteering at elementary schools, colleges, others. I love talking to kids about tech. I love coaching cyber teams. They do all the cyber wars now. So I love coaching. So staying involved with the community, helping people, working with folks, that's one way. Also, always putting out free content. You look at my YouTube, my social media, my Instagram, I'm always posting videos. I'm always doing content. I do 2 podcasts a week for free. And it's really just being willing to share with the world, because when you share with others, you learn, you understand what's important. And it's really just, it's not what I do, it's who I am. Like, people will often joke when I hang out with people on the weekends or I go to a party, I'll always sort of steer the conversation back to technology, mindset, cyber, and all that. And they basically go, Eric, do you think about anything else but work? And I go, what's work? Because to me, I truly believe if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So I don't work, I live. And to me, just helping people, protecting people, securing cyberspace, making cyberspace a safe place to live, work, and raise a family, ending suffering in cyberspace, it's not what I do, it's who I am. So it's just, that's what I'm always thinking about, it's what I'm reading, it's what I'm talking about, and then you sort of do your best to stay up to speed. But I sort of joke, 15, 20 years ago, when cyber was small, you could stay up to speed. Now, it's really, I don't think anybody who's honest who works in cybersecurity could say they stay up to speed. The best we can do is prevent ourselves from drowning in all the information that's out there.
And what is the impact, or what has been the impact of AI in all this? Like it helps, like in some ways, especially in the knowledge economy, it helps manage. You can like learn more and understand more things using AI. But what has been the impact in the field of cybersecurity?
So the big impact is in sort of 2 areas. One is it's basically shattering all traditional laws. And basically, something I pushed for a long time is we need cyber laws. Yeah. Right now, in most countries, we are using traditional laws to police cyber, and it didn't work But with AI now, it's completely shattered. And what I'm referring to is plagiarism. Basically, what is plagiarism? In a traditional sense, if you took my book, you read my book, and you rewrote the book in different words, but you didn't use any of my words, that was perfectly okay. Because the time, level, and effort was so intense that we would justify saying that person still wrote their own book. But now somebody could go in and they could go into AI and say, take Dr. Cole's 5 books and write a book just like Dr. Cole on this topic. And they basically have taken my knowledge, stolen my knowledge, repurposed my knowledge, but according to the current laws, that's not really plagiarism. So now the whole question of data privacy and ownership and all that is totally flipped on its back end, because now you can go in and essentially hack somebody's brain. I could go in, and it's so cool because I tell people now is there is no reason you can't have the information you need. I go in on a regular basis. I talk with Richard Branson. I talk with people who have passed away. Neville Goddard, I love him. He's a great author. He passed away many, many years ago. People are like, what do you talk about? I go into AI and I say, what would Richard Branson do in this situation? What would Neville Goddard do in this situation? How would they interpret it? So it's like we now have personal coaches and the best minds that ever existed on the planet available to coach us, consult us on a moment's notice. But then the question is, all of a sudden, this information that normally would be highly valuable, normally you would pay a lot of money to get high-end people to coach you, you'd pay a lot of money to go to conferences and events, now all of a sudden, that all goes away. But to me, the bigger issue with AI that I don't think anyone really looks at, it's basically collapsing our social structure and torturing all of us. And what I mean by that is what we are realizing when I go to an event, there's social interaction. When I go for coaching, there's social interaction. When I want to hang out with friends, there's social interaction. What AI does is you can now stay in your house by yourself and get all the same information without having any social interaction. I know people that are dating that never met each other. I know people that do conferences that never meet in person. I know people that do virtual hangouts. And to me, that is destroying the social fabric, because humans need energy. Humans need social interaction. And AI is allowing us to get the knowledge and information and totally eliminate and isolate social interaction, which I think is extremely, extremely dangerous.
No, I completely agree on that. And to give you my perspective, so I have been working from home for the last 8 years. I live in India, but I work in the US. So, but even then, and most of my client interactions and, like otherwise, like these interactions, again, like the interaction we are having today, it's pretty much virtual. And it's an advantage to have all of this technology to be able to do that. But even then, the personal interactions, like every year I'll try and make it to the US for a few weeks, a couple of times, and there's no substitute for that. It's irreplaceable. So I completely understand and agree where you're coming from. And yes, the fact that now I can, instead of interviewing you, and this is still an interaction, but if we replace even that with an AI agent, then that human element is completely lost, and that is a real risk. I'm completely with you on that. So,
because the point is, when do we get to the point, and I hope we never do, but when do we get to the point where you go in and say, Eric's too busy, but I would like Eric's perspective? So you just go into AI and ask these questions to AI saying, can you access all of Eric Cole's books, knowledge, and Instagram posts and tell me how he would answer these questions? And you basically do an interview without me even needing to be present. That starts getting to a new level of scary pretty quick.
Oh yeah, and like the platform that we're using, Riverside, they have a feature where I can train it on 5 to 10 seconds of my audio sample or your audio sample, and then I give it a text and it recreates it into a voice that sounds exactly like me or you. So yeah, I mean, we are not very far from from that scenario that you're explaining. I'm pretty sure there are other tools that will make it possible. In fact, Google just came out with Notebook LM. I don't know, like I'm sure you've heard of that, where you can upload an article and it creates a 10-minute podcast about any PDF, any article, anything you upload. And I uploaded the Daubert versus Merrill Dow Chemicals, the Supreme Court judgment, on that Notebook LM a couple of days ago, and it was such an interesting podcast episode that it created. I was like, okay, we need to take this audio, put graphics on top of it, and release this as a 10-minute primer on what the Daubert decision is, because it explains it in a really good way. It's like, so again, I mean, I don't think we are very far from the future that you are, like warning us about, and rightfully so. But before this podcast, this episode turns into, like a discussion on cybersecurity and AI, and I'm having a blast, and so I wouldn't mind that. Let's steer it back towards your expert witness career and ask you, could you walk us through, maybe one or two most challenging cases that you have done as an expert witness, where your expertise you believed was, instrumental in the outcome and helping the parties and the judges decide the issues at fact?
Yeah. I would say almost every case I work on sort of becomes my new most interesting case, because as you know, there's always new challenges and always new things that come up. But to me, I sort of break the challenges down into sort of three areas. So of course, the first area is the report writing.
Yeah.
Where you always want to make sure that you're really covering the information proper, because that's basically your final time to sort of get your opinions down. So essentially, you're creating a report that's going to limit you on what you can talk about in 3 years. That's sort of a very interesting challenge and problem, because things can change and things can occur. So you really have to sort of think ahead. And one of the things I love about expert witness work is it forces you to be the ultimate chess player, because the way they rank chess players is how many moves ahead can they predict checkmate. Yeah. So like you have really good players where they get to 2 or 3 moves into a game and they just sit back and smile.
Yeah.
and you go, why are you smiling? They're like, no matter what you do, I will have checkmate in 10 moves. And you're like, how is that even possible? And they're like, do whatever you want. You can make whatever moves you want. At this point, the game is over. The rest is formality. And to me, that's sort of the best way I describe expert witness, where you really need to think 10 moves ahead. You really need to think of all different possibilities. Okay, what if things change, new information comes out? What if sections of the report are no longer going to be covered at trial? What if those get limited by different motions or filings and everything else? So you really have to think through saying, okay, you don't want to have too many opinions, but you don't want to have too little opinion. So it's finding that right balance. And sort of the first approach of almost any opposing counsel in any case is they're always going to try to exclude or Daubert your opinion. So you're always sort of writing that report, not just thinking about trial and the long term, but making sure that it's thorough and complete, and there's no open, loose edges that could potentially cause it to get excluded or Dauberted. And I've been very blessed in that area where my reports are highly regarded by the courts, but it's really being super thorough, making sure that you're really thinking as far ahead as possible. And then, of course, you get to the depositions. And I always joke, for the first 10 years of my career, when attorneys would interview me for cases, I would say, I love report writing, I love testifying at trial, but anybody who says they love a deposition, there's something wrong with them. Well, maybe there's something wrong with me, but over the last few years, I've really actually started to love and appreciate depositions. I mean, they're really a very interesting, unique tool where you're pretty much the only person in the room that's not an attorney.
Yeah.
The other side can technically ask you anything they want, and it is under oath on the record. And essentially, you could be great for 6 hours and 55 minutes, but they're looking for those sound bites.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, most things in life, you can have a bad down, you can have a bad inning, you can have a bad at bat, whatever sports analogy we want to use, and you can still have a good game.
Yeah.
But in depositions, they just want you to have one bad answer, one bad explanation, because it's not looking for perfection, but they're looking for those little areas where you are not confident enough or you give the wrong answer that they can use against you. So yeah, you can't have a bad minute during a depo. Like, you are on 7 hours on the clock, typically for federal, usually 10-hour days, and you just have to be on the clock the whole time. So to me, every depo is always a challenge. Every depo is always an interest. And I'll tell you this, we always prep before depos. I always go in. I have never, ever, ever had a depo go the way I thought it would. Like, even when I'm like, I know the case, I know the other side, I know where they're going to come after me, I know where they're going to hit me up, and you get into the depo, and like you're halfway through, and you're like, is this the depo I just prepped for? Because it's like, because that's what a really good attorney does. They're not going to give you what you thought. You're going to basically try to mix it up there. And then, of course, you have trial, where then, to me, that's what I really enjoy, because then you have that jury or the judge that you really have to explain and help understand what's going on, what's happening. And to me, the biggest thing that I find that a lot of people overlook and overmiss is, you work in the tech for so long. You've worked on tech for 15 years as an expert. I've worked on this case for 3 years. So to me, all the background knowledge, background information, like I just did a case on networking. And to me, of course, switches and routers and packets and protocol stacks. And I mean, that's second nature. That's what I live, eat, and breathe for 30 years. It's all I thought about for the last 3 months. It's all I thought about for the last week prepping for trial. But we forget that for many members of the jury, this is brand new.
Yeah.
So I used to, basically, you start off with your direct and you jump right into the swimming pool, and you realize that they don't have the background you have. They don't have the framework of the historical perspective. So I found one of the most valuable and important things, even though time is always an issue with most patent trials, there's time limitations. You want to make sure you spend some time doing a background and tutorial. Let me explain to you what the internet is. I know you use it, but let me just go a little below and I find not only does the juries love it and find it so interesting, but it just sets everything up for success, because now they're understanding and following what you're saying. They're not just looking at it in a vacuum. But then I would say, sort of, you asked the question of challenging cases. I would say the biggest challenge in every case is knowing your position and making sure you don't do anything to hurt any other players. Because normally, sometimes on smaller cases, I'll do all of it. So on smaller cases, I'll do infringement, I'll do technical apportionment, I'll do validity, and then it's sort of easy. But most large cases, where there's a large number of patents, there's multiple infringement experts, multiple apportionment experts, multiple validity experts. And what you want to make sure of is that you're not going to do anything to hurt any of the other experts. Because a really good attorney, and I'd say all attorneys are really good if they're actually running trials, they're going to try to get you to answer questions that you're not ready for, that potentially hurt or cause issues for the other experts in the case. So it's really important to make sure that you sort of stay within your swim lane and you're going to try to stay in scope. They're going to try to take you out of scope and really manage that, because I've sat in on many cases and many trials, and usually when they go sideways or there's a huge problem, it's not because the expert made a mistake on their topic. It's because the expert opined on a topic they shouldn't have and caused problems for other areas of the case. So it's really understanding what your role is, what your role is not, and being really disciplined and focused to stay within that swim lane.
No, that's I completely agree, because we keep tracking challenges to expert witnesses. That's a part, that's a major part of what we do, and we see most of the times, the biggest reason experts get excluded would be when they would use a unreliable methodology, or they'll try to pass on, their ipse dixit without any explanation. But most of the qualification-based exclusions, and it's not just in patent infringement, across the board, would be when it's a qualified expert, great credentials, but they would try to opine on something that's vaguely in their expertise or a little outside their expertise. Maybe they get tempted that, I know this is not my expertise per se, but maybe it is, maybe I can take this case. So I think, and then that pretty much destroys careers, because if you're getting excluded quite often, maybe once or twice, you can still manage it. An attorney may still understand that it can happen to anyone. But if somebody is getting excluded every now and then that death knell is not too far.
Yeah, it's one of those, coloring outside the lines.
Yeah.
And the problem is most experts are teachers. Like a lot of experts are university professors. They want to teach, they want to help. If you're in class and your student asks you a question, even if it's a little outside your domain, you have some experience there, you want to help them, you care about them. So your natural tendency is to say, of course, let me try helping you, let me try answering this. It's not really the subject, but I care about and want to help you. And they sort of get that way when they're working on a case, where attorneys will ask, hey, Eric, can you opine on this, this, or this? And the natural tendency, human nature, is to be like, well, of course. I know a little bit about this, or I've read a little bit about this or that. So your natural tendency as a human is to say, yes, of course, I'd be happy to. But the real way to handle that as an expert witness is to say, listen, I could, but I just want you to understand the risk. This is not my area of research. This is not my area of focus. And if I get pushed in a depo or at trial, I don't really have the same level of expertise or experience. So this is going to put me in a greater risk if I opine on this topic. Yeah. And I find that most attorneys are very pleased when I push back, going, listen, if you want some help as a consulting, I can. But I don't think I should opine on this in my expert report, because I think it puts us at risk for coloring too outside the lines. And I think that's a real good expert, is they're humble enough to know when you're going outside your domain, and instead of trying to be helpful, just be honest and say, listen, I think this is probably too big a risk for me to opine on this.
And do you think having a knowledge of the laws that apply to expert witnesses, that plays a very important role in understanding what you should be doing and what you should not be doing as an expert?
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those, it's the fine line, is most technical experts are not attorneys.
Yeah.
So don't pretend to be one. Mm-hmm. And my thing is, you need to understand the law, but you cannot try to interpret or provide expert opinion on the laws. And that's, once again, a gray area that I think some experts miss, where it's okay to go in and say, listen, I was told, or my understanding of the law is X, but not say, and that means this or that. Because if you start trying to teach or explain the law to the jury, it's not only going to get objected to, but most likely move to strike is going to be successful. So yeah, that's fine line. And the analogy I always give is, if I drive a car, I don't need to understand how to arrest people. I don't need to understand how to apprehend somebody, put handcuffs on somebody, put somebody on jail. Police officers are trained in that. I'm not. However, if I drive a car, I better know the speed limit. Yeah. I better know to stop at a red light. I better understand the general premise of the law. So it's sort of the same way as an expert is. You need to understand the general premise. Like, for example, you need to understand and know that claim construction becomes the new gospel. Like, if the judge provides a construction of a claim term in a patent, you must use that, whether you agree with it or not, whether it's this or that. And that's one where the chess moves become so critical, because I fortunately have seen this coming and have been able to avoid it, but I've seen other experts where the attorney will start off questioning an expert and they're like, listen, let's just put this case aside for a minute. And I want you to understand your general knowledge of security. So can you just tell me, what is a network? What is a computer? What are packet? And they get these people like in teaching mode or professor, and they're just like, oh, so outside the scope of your report. Yeah, outside the scope of your report. I just want the jury to understand some technical terms. And what they don't realize is they're basically having you opine on terms that the judge already construed, and you knew if you were in your report, but they take you out of that element and they forget. And then you start giving definitions of terms that are contradictory to the judge's claim construction. So it's like those types of things. So what I always do is you don't memorize everything, but one of the things I memorize are anything that was construed by the court, claim construction. And then if I'm asked at trial, well, Dr. Cole, what's your definition of the term network? I would go, there's many meanings, but just so we're clear, in this case, the judge construed network to mean X. So for this case, that's the definition that I used. Well, Dr. Cole, couldn't it have different meanings? Yes, but in this case, it means X, and really just be very clear on those things. Also, like, for example, I do a lot of data breach negligence cases, and you know that negligence has very specific tests to prove something negligent according to the law. So it's those things where you need to understand it from a technical perspective, but not try to interpret it or be an expert in it.
Well, that's excellent. And it's also, like your line of work, it's also very technical. But then on top of that, you also work on very high-profile cases involving, some of the largest companies in the world. So do you think that plays a role in how, like the media scrutiny and like as an expert witness, like obviously you are used to this, you've been doing this for a long time, but does that have an impact on how you would tackle a case? And would you be more careful if there's media scrutiny involved in a case?
Yeah, to me, it's one of those is you become a better expert and you get more experience at it, and your technical knowledge really expands around that. It becomes harder and harder for attorneys to really go after you on the technical matter. So what happens is, and this is both the more high profile the case and the more experience, I think those two go together. The more experience you have, I've had the honor and privilege of working on multiple billion-dollar verdicts, which like for some 100 million is a lot. Like some of these are very small. So the more experience, the bigger the case is, the higher profile. And when you start getting into hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, that's some very, very high levels of potential damages. So what happens there is everything is on the table. So now it's not just your technical knowledge, it's who you are as a person, your opinions, what you say. And this is something, because I run a company in addition to doing Secure Anchor, that I really had to tell my team on is, listen, you have to be so careful of what you post under my social media, because I create the content, but I have a team that actually posts and runs all my social media and monitors it. I'm like, you have to be so careful of what you comment on, what you post, because a good social media person is like, oh, you have to be engaging. You want to engage on controversial topics. You want to you want to get known. And I'm like, no, because they're going to pull that up. And it's funny, in a couple of my cases where they go to do my cross at trial, and it's a 70-minute cross, 10 minutes were on the merit of the case, and 60 minutes were on my background, my social media, what I do, what I enjoy. And on the one hand, it's the ultimate compliment, because it's basically like, we can't touch you on your technical, so we're going to have to go after you personally. But on the other hand, it really teaches you the sort of, you got to just take deep breaths and have thick skin, because at some point they go in and say, when they're doing a cross, the attorneys will always say, it's not personal, right? It's business. But I'll tell you, sometimes if they're going after you personally and questioning your morals or ethics, it could start to feel a little personal if you're not careful. So it's just really just keeping yourself calm, staying relaxed, because ultimately the worst thing an expert can do is lose their cool. If they start getting emotional, getting angry, getting upset, getting frustration, even if the jury doesn't understand what you're saying, they're going to think, okay, something's going on. Something's bothering Eric really bad, and there's a problem here. So the number one rule is, no matter what they're asking you, no matter what they're saying, you just got to stay calm and relaxed and know that your attorney has a chance to come back on redirect and to clean up anything that's needed. But you just have to keep your same demeanor and same posture for cross and for redirect. And as they say, never let them see you sweat, and never let them get you upset, no matter how hard they try.
Yeah, and because it also then suddenly becomes about you as a person, and the jury is involved in that, and the merits of the case are, like nobody's discussing that. So I completely understand. And we keep seeing this in deposition transcripts, like I used to do this for fun, not anymore so much. I would read expert deposition transcripts and try to find anecdotes, interesting, like stuff to share on social media. And one of the most weird deposition questions I have seen is this medical doctor was asked during trial that have you ever appeared nude in the Playgirl magazine? And the expert was like, what did you say? And this is the transcript. So, you're reading the whole sequence. And he goes, yeah, in the year 1973, you appeared in the Playgirl magazine. And did you appear naked or not in that magazine? And the expert was like, I am sure I did not. But now that you've asked me, I need to see something. Because, they asked the question in front of the jury, and then he didn't have the magazine to show. So, and then the court went into recess, and then there was this whole back and forth on how the questioning attorney wanted to withdraw the question, but then the retaining attorney insisted that no, this must be sanctioned and stricken off the record in front of the jury, because now the jury has heard it, and this would play on their mind. So I can completely understand how it can work as a tactic and can rile up some experts. But the best thing to do would be to stay in character, keep control of your demeanor, and be calm and composed about it. So that's really great. What other soft skills do you think are important for an expert to thrive in this profession?
Really, some of these are sort of obvious, but not obvious, because I've seen a lot of people make this mistake. One is listen, because very often, and I've seen this when I sit in on depos, or I'm trying to help, or I'm a consultant instead of the testifying expert, is they'll ask one question and you'll answer a different question. And the question you answered actually is not as favorable as the one they asked. So it's one of those where we like the way human brains work is, when you're talking, I want to gather just enough data so I can start to formulate my answer before you finish talking. So lots of times somebody is talking right away, and you'll notice, because I do it in depos and any interviews, after you ask me a question, there's a little pause, because I'm like, let me just think about what he said for a second and then speak. And that's not normally in society how we do it. It's like, it's just rapid fire where you're talking over each other. And in a depo, I always sort of do the 5-second pause. It's for two reasons. One, you want to give your attorney a chance if they want to voice any objections, so they're not talking over you. But second is for you really just to say, okay, what is the question they really asked? And then what answer do I want to provide? So it's really just slowing down and really just being a good listener. The other soft skill is be an answerer, not a teacher. And what I mean by that is very often if somebody asks either a bad question or sort of a off the topic question, our natural reaction is to help. So like if I was at dinner with a friend and my friend said, hey, Eric, what about this? I'm like, yeah, but that's not really what you need. What you really need is this. So and you add a lot more. And I find sometimes experts will go in and they'll try to be too helpful and provide a lot more commentary. And you're sitting there going, oh, yeah. That's why I mean, you're not in teacher mode. You're not trying to sit there and give them all explanations. They're going to ask you a question, answer it, and move on. Only answer the question, nothing more, nothing less, and all that. So I think that's another soft skill. And then the other soft skill, which is hard for some, easy for others, but basically just control your emotions. Yeah. No matter what they say, no matter what they do. I mean, I've had depots where I've had, once again, I don't want to think it's intentional, but like they've thrown things at the table. Like I had once where they were drinking a glass of water and they threw it on the table and it shattered. Wow. And I had like glass flying at me and had people yelling at me and like arguing. And you just have to just take that deep breath and just, stick to the topics, go back to your report, focus on what's going on there and just really staying in that emotion. And I'd say the last soft skill, which once again sort of contradicts a lot of human emotion, is it's okay to look up the answer. Yeah. Experts want to have everything memorized. They want to go from memory, but they forget in a depo, you're under oath. Yeah. So your answer is basically as if it's in the report. So if you're going from memory and you even mess up a word like should versus must, yeah, or some of the time versus all of the time. I mean, one little word could drastically change the opinions in your report. And because you're under oath, that's basically can't be changed, can't be modified. So to me, it's very unnatural because you want to go to the best of my recollection or from what and that you never do that. I need to go back to my report. I read my report, I don't have it memorized, and I need to go back to my report and show you where in the report. And that is a soft skill that's not normal or natural to how most people operate.
Mm-hmm. So if you had to give advice to somebody in the cybersecurity domain who's not done any expert witness work, but they want to, or they're looking to get into this, what are probably the one or two things they can do to get started?
First, of course, is experience. Mm-hmm. So see if you can, because once again, if you have zero experience, yeah, you might, if you have a very unique skill set, you might be able to find a case where somebody could take you. So sort of two pieces of advice. One is if you've never done expert witness before and you want to get into it and you want somebody to take a case, get very niched in your skill set. Like find a very, very, very narrow niche that is super hard to find and then start looking at cases where either there's patents or there's technology around that niche technology and then start introducing yourself because in that case, they might be willing to run the risk of taking somebody with no experience but who has the technical knowledge. Might be worth it. So if you're like an expert that never ever had a case, no experience, and you're putting yourself out as a network security expert, you're probably not going to get cases because why would somebody pick you over? Yeah. I mean, there's tons of low-cost seasoned experts out there. So you really want to make yourself so valuable that you're the best choice. Next, supporting role can be just as important.
Yeah.
I in a lot of cases, will have experts that have never testified or done depositions, but they'll help with code review. They'll help with, at my direction, of course, but code review or researching or going through documents or going through evidence or things like that. So the other thing I would say is figure out a way to get involved in the field so you start to understand how it works and how it operates. Because once again, if you're an expert that has zero experience, that's much harder for somebody to hire you than, oh, I've done 5 code reviews, I've been a consulting expert, I've done this, this, and this. Then they're like, okay, he at least understands the process and more likely to go and get brought into a case. So it's really make yourself available, understand how it works, take any work, even if it's in a supporting role, and then try to niche out your skill set so you become the unique expert in that area.
And do you have a couple of, like these niches that you see that there's a growing demand for experts in those areas in cybersecurity?
I mean, a lot of it is really in all the tech areas. So like right now, networking is so broad. Getting a generic networking patent today is probably going to be very hard to do.
Yeah.
But if you get very specific into algorithmic optimization, I'm just making this up here, or very specific areas like that, or new fields like AI. Yeah. Like right now, almost all of the experts that are currently providing expert services, nobody is really an expert in AI because it's such a, now granted it's been out for 20 years, but at the level we're talking about, it's fairly new. So getting into some of those new areas, cloud, AI, some of the new cutting edge, and then just start really drilling down. And what I would recommend is just start going to USPTO and just start looking at patents that are filed. That'll really give you the best idea of what future cases are going to be involved with. Because you know you can do provisional and you can do private, but most patents after a period of time are public information. So just start looking at, if you want to become an expert in 2 to 3 years, look at all the new technology patents and compute. You can search it on technology and just see what the niches are that are starting to develop, and then start to enhance and build out those niches in your expertise.
That, I think that is an excellent advice. That reminded me of this SEO expert, Rand Fishkin, and he basically learned everything about SEO by tracking patents filed by Google. And he was like, that's exact, and he's like that. He's written about that in his book, and when I read that, like, oh my god, like this is such an innovative and like a great smart way to learn something. Yeah. So yeah, excellent advice. So before I let you go, and like I really have to connect again, and we have to do a AI and cybersecurity podcast, which has
Let's
nothing
do
to do
it, my
about
friend. I'm ready.
witness.
Let's go.
But before I let you go, this has been super helpful, and I'm pretty sure that like patent attorneys, not just in the US but in other jurisdictions, will also benefit a lot from what we discussed today, and so would other experts in the field of tech and cybersecurity. If people want to reach out to you, what's the best way to find you and get in touch?
Either on social media. Most of my handles, like on IG and others, are DrEricCole, Dr. Eric Cole. Or you can always email me at ecole, ECOLE, at secure-anchor.com. ecole at secure-anchor.com.
All right, we'll add that in the show notes. So thank you so much, Dr. Cole, for taking out time from your busy schedule today and talking to us. This was a lot of fun, and I really hope to do this again.
I enjoyed it, and hopefully you have me back, because I think we can have a lot of fun on a lot of topics. So thank you, my friend.
For sure. Thanks a lot. Have a good one. Thank you. If you found this podcast useful, remember to subscribe and give us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. This will help other users find this podcast and benefit from the insights shared by our guests. If you'd like to be featured as a guest on this show, please write to media@xlightum.com. See you in the next episode. Having shared her knowledge with peers through presentations like War Stories from the Courtroom, We are excited to dive into her journey today and hear the lessons she's learned along the way.